you ever realized that there's something in your life you need to change, like really need to change, but you either just simply don't want to, or you can't change it on your own and you realize that? Today's video is for you. What's up, y'all? It's Rachel Elizabeth, and you're watching Real Talk with Rach, where we talk about the real things that matter underneath all the other shallow stuff of life, right? Like, oh, how's the weather? No, we're talking about real stuff, the stuff that we need to talk about for actual change to happen, actual transformation to happen. And guys, today there is so much that I want to say, and it's not an easy subject because it requires me to admit that I'm not great. And nobody likes to admit that, right? But here's the real talk truth. Some things have been revealed to me this week that aren't necessarily terribly bad things, but for me personally, I know that in order to kind of level up, if you will, and move forward in my spiritual journey and what I believe God has called me to do in my life, there's something I have to acknowledge and give up. And by acknowledge, I mean that I know that I can't do it on my own, and I'm gonna have to let God do his thing in that area of my life. And by give up, it's something that I don't necessarily want to give up, or at least I haven't wanted to give up. And again, that's something that only God could change in my heart. So the point of this video is to talk about the change that you can't change on your own. Last week's video was about how to change the world today. And very briefly, it was essentially saying that if you change your behaviors, it's going to create a ripple effect. The whole video is a lot more detailed than that, and there's a lot more good that I am not going to spend time explaining again in this video, but you can watch that over here. Last week's video only goes so in depth, and I'm taking it to a whole nother level, y'all. This week, I am talking about that change that, when you get right down to it, you don't really want to change it. It's that bad habit that you know probably isn't that great for you, or maybe it's not so great for someone else, but it's not affecting you, so why should you change it? It's these questions that go round and round in our minds when there's really something that we know is kind of off, but then we justify it. We make excuses for it because it's our little pet. We want to keep it around for a rainy day, or it just feels good and it's not affecting anyone else, right? So what's the big deal? But guys, here's the truth. We can't change the world if we don't change our behaviors. We can't change our behaviors until we change our heart. And we can't change our heart by ourselves. We can't change our heart on our own. And it's the heart that determines whether or not we stay in those bad habits. It's the heart that makes the decisions that maybe don't affect us right now that we can see, but in the long run, they're hurting us and they're hurting the people that we love around us. It's the heart that is deceptive above all things and no one can trust it. I actually have another video that explains that exact thing happening. It's called The One Thing All My Failed Relationships Have in Common. You guys can check that out over here. So I know from personal experience that you can't trust your heart. But you know who you can trust? The one who made it. And he is the only one who can change it. But it has to be our choice. Because we've got this little thing called free will. Free will was something that God gave us so we wouldn't be robots, that we wouldn't be drones walking around, because God is love. God is a God about relationship, and relationship is based on love. And if there isn't a choice to love or reject, there is no real love, because real love is a choice. Here's another video that talks all about that in depth called Real Love Sucks. And I made it, I think it was Valentine's Day, but guys, check that out, because truth is, we need free will or else there wouldn't be love. And I'm not saying God wouldn't exist, but because God is love, he had to allow us free will to choose or reject him. And the painful, honest, real truth is that when we reject God, it separates us from him. And that's essentially what sin is. It's choosing to reject God in our behaviors, in our actions, in our life, in our lifestyle. It's choosing to reject God. not trusting that he's good, not trusting that he's for us, not trusting that he loves us, not wanting the best things in life because we're so blinded by the simple pleasures of the here and now. Now, I say that specifically because we're talking real, because if we're talking real, sin is fun. It's pleasurable. It feels good in the moment. Things that destroy you are usually not the things that destroy you immediately, but over time, they destroy relationships. They destroy health. They destroy jobs and livelihoods and families. And it's all those little choices that we talked about last week. It's little choices. They add up. I have another video called You Didn't Gain 50 Pounds Overnight. And that's about our choices and how they add up. And I'll put that one over here too. I'm gonna run out of links to post. But because sin is pleasurable, it makes it really hard to give up sometimes. And I'm saying this from personal experience because there's something, like I said, I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but there's something in my own life, in my own heart, that I had to get to the point this week of admitting, first of all, admitting and being honest with God and saying, wow, I just realized I have chosen this over you. I've made this more important in my life than submitting and surrendering to you. Now, it's a tricky word, submit and surrender, because it's admitting that we're not in control. Now, if we're being really honest, we'll realize if we dig everything up, we're not really in control of anything. The fact that we woke up this morning, we had no control over that. The fact that we made it through the day and got back home in order to, spend some time resting and relaxing before going to bed again, did we have any control over the events of the day? I mean, we could have been killed in a car accident on the way home. You don't know if you're gonna make it through another day tomorrow. I'm not trying to be morbid, I'm just trying to be real. We don't have any control over what happens to us during the day. The control that we do have is perceived control. It's not really control. It's the control that God allows us in our free will. So when it comes right down to it, only God is supremely in control. And we don't like that because we want to make our own decisions and be the Lord of our own lives. But this was my problem. This is the problem we have with the words surrender and submit, because we don't like the idea that there's something or someone in control over us. But I also think, the reason why I'm talking about this, I think that we don't like that because we don't know God, truly. Because when you know who God is, it is the easiest thing in the world to surrender and submit to him because he is so amazing. This has been a process for me, and I believe it's a process for everybody, and I'm going to continue to learn more and more the further I go into my faith and in my life and getting closer to God. But the thing that I didn't want to surrender to him this week was because I didn't understand a certain degree of his goodness and love yet. And when I finally understood that, it was easy to give him this area of my life. Now, this video is not easy, and honestly, I didn't even want to make this one because it required admitting that I struggled with something like this. And I don't want to look bad. I don't want to look bad on camera. I don't want to look bad to you guys. But the truth is, this isn't about me at all. It's not about me at all. It's all about God and how good he is. And these videos are always about pointing you to his goodness and his love and his unconditional choosing of you. He loves you no matter what you do, no matter which choices you make. You could continue to choose your bad habits and the things that you know are hurting you eventually, or now, or someone else. You can continue to choose those, and God still loves you, and he's still coming after you because he wants you more than anything to understand how those things are destructive and they're never going to fulfill you. The only one who can ever satisfy you is the one who made you. The only one who you can trust your heart to is the one who made your heart. The only true happiness and love you'll ever experience is from the source of happiness and love, and that's God. And it's this false understanding, this misconception of who God is that makes us fear letting go and surrendering to him. Because if we really knew who God was, we would run to surrender. We would rush to give him all of our crap. Because what kind of an unfair deal is that he would love us unconditionally and all we can bring to him is our mess? Because no thing that we can do, no achievement, no goodness on our own, like we don't have anything good without him. We can't do anything to earn favor with him. There's no earning grace at all. Grace is undeserved favor, and it's by grace you've been saved by faith. This is not of yourselves, so no one can be proud about it. No one can brag about it, because then there would be status in this, and that's not what God's about at all. There's one God, and then there's all of us. And He loves us crazy, messed up kids so much. It's unreal. It's so unfair, and yet that's how good He is. So this is real. This is Real Talk with Rach, and I know that this is a hard video, but if we're honest about what it's gonna take to really make lasting changes and cause fitness in every aspect of our lives, we have to talk about this, because you gotta know you can't change on your own. The real change happens when we understand that only God can do it, and God loves us so much. He's crazy about you. Can you even just for a second wrap your mind around the idea that God, the ultimate being, the ultimate creator God, is crazy about you, that He believes in you, that He's passionate about being with you in relationship, about setting you free, about making you a son or a daughter, about taking your mess and giving you everything, everything good, that the God who is more wealthy than the wealthiest human on the planet wants to bless you unconditionally just because He loves you? Okay, that's crazy. So this journey in life, like I've loved Jesus for 5 years now, and it has not been an easy road. I'm gonna be honest with that. It's not easy, but it's so good. And I wouldn't trade any of who I used to be and the life I used to have for what I have with Him. Nothing. So the closer I get in my relationship with Him, the more I know Him, the more I love Him, and the less my circumstances matter, the less they affect me, because He brings me into His perspective. And yes, it's a battle to trust Him every day, but when I surrender, He makes things beautiful that were not before. So I'm gonna end right there, getting off my soapbox. I'm gonna quit preaching for today, but I love you guys. I'm praying for you so much. And man, I just appreciate you. This is Real Talk with Rach. If you want to support what I'm doing here, I have a Patreon campaign, and I need and appreciate you guys so much. I'll see you next time. Okay, bye. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, I want to know, is there something that you're hanging on to? All you have to say is yes or no. You don't have to tell me what it is, but if you answer yes, I'm going to be praying for you for that thing, that whatever it is. I don't need to know. God knows. That's all that matters. And if you say no, I'm going to be praying for you too. I believe we're all in this process of figuring out how to let go. So you guys are amazing. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.